Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Georgiana with Expressions Craft Studio, and what I'm working on today is I've been doing some scrap busting. I don't know about you guys, but I create a lot of scraps, some big, some small. I've got them sorted separately and by colors, so I have these little small containers. I believe I got these from Stampin' Up! And I just sort my smaller pieces in there. They're good for the smaller dies or punches or whatever. And then I save my larger scraps in these envelopes. And my scrap stashes are overflowing. So I decided to do something I've actually been wanting to do for quite a while, which was make some flowers. Now, this actually is not one of my favorites. The colors didn't really blend the way I wanted them to, but you never know, I might find a use for it. This one actually turned out a lot better, and even then I still got the center darker than I wanted. So we've got some other ones here. This one, again, not one of my favorites, but I'm going to put together some of the ones that I do like better, just so you can kind of see what we're doing. And I'm using a series, a variety of supplies that I have. I've got some inks from Stampin' Up! I've got some other brands. I've got some Tim Holtz. I've got some, Spectrum Noir. I've got, and that's what I've used so far was those, as well as the Spectrum Noir Sparkle Color brush on dye inks, or dye. They call it glitter ink, and it does kind of show up depending on what color you're putting it on. Anyway, my papers, I don't have a curated collection of one brand of papers and inks. So in other words, my papers aren't all from Stampin' Up! And my inks aren't all from Stampin' Up! So they don't coordinate as well, which is why I end up with some obvious color differences in some of my stuff, because I don't have everything coordinated. If you do, that's great, because that'll make this process a whole lot easier for you. If you don't, you might have to play around with things a little bit. Like, for instance, I didn't have to color all of these petals to realize I wasn't going to like them. I could have stopped at one, but I kept going. So we're just going to play with some different stuff today. I did add some Nuvo drops right here to the center of the flowers because I have them and I like that glittery look. And that actually matched pretty well. And I tend to buy colors in blues, pinks, purples. Those are like my go-to colors. I don't always get the whole palette because my go-to colors are pinks, purples, and blues. But if you have a wider range of your colors in your stock, that's great. I just don't. So you'll see me focusing on pinks, purples, and blues. I'm sorry if you can hear my cat. I had to lock her out. She's tearing things up in here, and I just don't have time for that today. So, I've used a paintbrush. I wish I had one that was a little bit, finer tipped than this one, because the smaller your flowers get, the more beneficial that's going to be. You're going to want a really fine line paintbrush. I've got these out here. I've never used them. There is a fine one over here on this edge. At least it looks fine. So I'm going to try that. And we're going to try these Dylusions Ink Sprays. We're going to see how those work. I think what I will do is I actually cut these myself out of white. What is that stuff? Felt. And thinking that they would work on the sponge daubers from the Tim Holtz line. They didn't really. But I can use them for this because I'm going to spray some of this on this mat here, this silicone mat, and then just daub it onto the centers of the flowers and then try and blend that out a little bit. We'll see. I haven't done that, at least not in a while, so we'll see. But before we do, well, before we do that, I might put a couple of these other flowers. No, you know what? We'll wait. We'll put some of these other flowers together later. I use dies for mine because I can control them a little bit better and because I had them. But you can definitely do this with your Cricut, your Silhouette, your Brother Scan and Cut. You just need an outline flower shape. So whatever works for you. But because I was using scraps, I could actually see and kind of hold my die up to my scrap to see if it actually fit on my scrap. So that worked out really well for me. Again, there's different ways you could do this. So with that said, I think I'm going to clear this off a little bit and we'll come back and start inking some of these blanks over here. Now I will say I also used well, I didn't use them last time, but I have them here to use this time. These are ball styluses. I use them for different things. I use them in my clay. I use them for paper crafting. I use them for as a dotting tool when I'm doing some dotting work, which I don't do very often. But the different sizes come in really handy, and I've got a whole set of these that get much smaller. This is probably the largest one I had. This is like from a Wilton, Wilton cake decorating set, which I was going to get into, and that's a whole nother story. If you're interested, ask me and I'll tell you. But yeah, and then these are from Studio, which was, I believe, the Donna Dewberry line for a while with the polymer clay stuff, and they had the different tips and stuff on them. But you can use these to help shape your flowers. The smaller it is, the smaller the ball is, the more defined the shaping is going to be. So that again is going to depend on what the look you want. I actually just did it with my fingernail, and there's so many different ways you can do this, but I would just take my fingernail and then just run it across the back with some pressure and shape those petals out a little bit in whichever way, or I might run it across the front depending on which way I wanted them to curl. I also took my needle tool, which is from my quilling set, and would go between the petals like this and press and pull to get a curl. And it's already curling a little bit, and I want to try and dye it first or color it first. But that's probably the easiest way to do it. There's just use what you have. Just use what you have. So with that, I'm going to clean all this off. We're going to get started dyeing some of these. We're going to focus with the Dylusions. They're ink sprays. I'm not going to spray them. I'm just going to put a little puddle on my mat and then kind of work it out onto the blank flower bases or flower sets, whatever, petal sets. I don't know what to call them. All right. So we'll be right back. All right, so I've gone out and sorted my different size petals. I had 4 sets of everything. And I'm going to start with the bigger ones, and the reason for that is I think the flowers will look better if I leave off the back petals or the back layer versus the smaller inside layers. Now that's probably just personal preference, but you can work on that yourself. Let me zoom us in on here a little bit. Okay, so this is the one I did this with the ink pads from Stampin' Up, and this one turned out pretty well, but we're going to try now with the Dylusions Ink Spray. I'm just kind of moving some of these out of the way, and I don't know if I should start with the darker or one of the lighter ones. This color, I can't even tell what this color is. Periwinkle blue or London blue. I kind of like the London blue. So I'm going to shake it up. I don't know if I need to, but I'm going to, just in case there's anything in there that's settled over time, because I haven't used these in probably at least a year. I don't remember if I used them in 2025 or not. So I could spray it out, but that will probably splatter more than I want it to. So I'm just going to try and dribble a little bit of it out here, which isn't working as well as I would have hoped. So let me try and spray it and not get it everywhere. We'll see. I'm just going to do a gentle spritz with any luck. Oh yeah, that'll work. Wipe that off. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, one of these pads, and I am going to spray it down with water so that it's wet and doesn't soak up all of that ink in one go. Just making sure this is my water and not the alcohol, which it does have a W on it, so. Okay, so I'm going to fold this up a little bit. You could use cotton balls if you have them. Just, you know, like I said, use what you have. Just going to kind of make some streaks and follow the direction of the petal. And obviously this just soaked up most of my ink here, so this might not have been the way to go. But we'll see. I'll just put a little bit more on there. Maybe that'll do the trick. Now I'm not going to worry too much about the inside because that's going to be covered up by the other petal layers. So what I'm going to do now is, I don't have any water in this, but I have some water here in this cup. And you can, but you can fill these up somehow or other. This comes apart. Oh, there you go. So you just unscrew it. I don't remember where I got these. I've had them for a while. And then you just, once you fill it up, you gotta twist it the right way. It feels like those were backwards. But I'm just gonna put it, get it in here, get it a little wet. And I'm gonna see if this ink will bleed. And it doesn't look like it's going to. Not very well anyway. So this might not be the way to go. Alright, so let me put down a little bit more of this. Actually, I'm going to put some water. Maybe we will just thin it out a little bit. Couple tiny little squirts. And maybe what I'll do is, let's flip it over. And we'll play with this back side here. So I'm just going to get that a little wet. And what I want to do is I just want to draw it out from the center to make it look like veins, which now I've put too much pressure on them and they don't look that good. So you do have to practice with this technique a little bit. And again, the right brush will make a difference. The thinner the liner tip, the neater this will be. So I'd like to start by going right down the middle from the center out and just kind of follow the shape of the petal. Now this might look better on a blue background than it does on a white background, but you get the idea. So we'll do a couple more. You could use watered down acrylic paint if you've got acrylic paint you wanted to try this with. Honestly, I think you could try it with just about anything. You just want to get your consistency good. So now, that's not terrible. So what I'm going to do is, even though that's the wrong side, but I totally messed up that side, I'm going to do this, just go ahead and do a whole series of them here. And then what I might do at the end is add ink over the top to kind of pull it all together. So you just want a light tip, and the reason I start from the center out is so that I can bring my brush up as it gets closer to the tip. And with each progressive layer, you'll probably want fewer of these like veiny colored veins or whatever. At least that's how I imagine them in my mind. And I do try to make them all a little bit different so they don't all have the same number of veins. There, I got those nice and thin. That looks a lot better. And I have not mastered just being able to work around the layer. I have to keep turning it. So again, you figure out what works for you, and that's the way you'll go. Maybe I'll try it here. We'll see. Yeah, I don't like it. But it is what it is. I got thinner, but I'm going to go back to doing it the way it was. Now I meant to grab some Oxide sprays or distressed Oxide sprays, whatever they are, and I didn't do that, but you could also play with those the same way we're doing it, or just by spraying them on there. They are water reactive, so you would get more of a reaction from them than we are from this solution. Oh, that got really funky. Let's give it another little, oh, that's kind of a nice touch, where they are just half, you know, they don't go all the way. I like that. Oh, I'll have to do that some more. So the whole point of this was, again, to use up my scraps, to show you a way to use up your scraps. And to just, you know, play and kind of see how it goes. I want to go back. One of these I didn't like, but now I don't, oh, maybe it was this one. This one could use a few, just tiny little. Tiny little swishes. This stuff does dry really fast, though. I will say that for it. Alright, so I want to go thin. Yeah, it's hard to see. It gets harder as you get smaller to get nice thin little streaks. And unfortunately, these are the ones that are going to be toward the top, so you are going to see them better. And it might be easier if I weren't talking. But I can't say that with any certainty. Our cat's been very seemingly unhappy lately. She's vocal all the time. Kind of like a cranky toddler who doesn't want to take their nap. Yeah, I don't like that one at all. There we go, that's a little bit better. Put a little less stuff on it. She was a stray when we got her, so I don't know how old she is. I don't know. I don't really know what to think of this, if she's just going through a phase. Alright, well, balance this out a little bit. Okay, so what do I do with this petal? I guess we're just going to sop it up. And move it up there out of the way. Wipe that down. And then let's grab an ink that I think might look good here. Let's see. I think Salty Ocean, maybe? That looks like a good color. Let me grab a blending brush. Well, you know what? I've got one here that I just cleaned out, but you know what I'm going to do? Okay, I've got these little makeup brushes that I bought a while back, quite a while back actually, from AliExpress, I think. It was years ago now. So I'm going to, I don't really like the string, it kind of gets in my way. I'm just going to ink this up. And if I had a piece of paper, I'd put it down, but I don't. So I'm just going to ink right on this mat here. And I'm kind of going to start in the center just because, like I said, it'll be covered up. And then work my way out to the edges here. I want to be darker on this in the center and lighter toward the outside. Not sure I'm getting a whole lot darker toward the center, but let's see here. This is actually a really nice color match. So we used the London Blue Ink Spray from Dylusions and the Distressed Oxide Salty Ocean from Ranger. And it's actually a really nice, oh, that's a little darker than I needed it to be, a nice compatible color. Okay, let's see here. That actually, to my eye, looks pretty good. Better than this one here, where there's so much contrast in the colors between the dye ink that I added, or the ink that I added, versus the color of the paper. So this one just seems like it's a much better combination. Alright, so we're going to repeat that with these other petals. Again, we're going to start in the center and work our way out, going lighter on the outer edge. These inks do blend really nicely, or at least they spread really nicely. Now that could be a combination of the brush, the paper, and the ink, but I like the way it's going on. It's not a lot of work, extra work. If that makes sense. Okay, we got two there. So now one of the things I wanted to tell you earlier that I didn't, that I'll talk about now while we're inking these, was I used, oh that's too much. I used the Nuvo drops in the center, but you could add rhinestones, any kind of little glitzy things. You could even just add another paper thing. You could add the diamond glaze over a colored piece of paper that maybe you've cut out for your center, or a quilled piece, whatever. The diamond glaze will give it a nice shiny bit. You could use gosh, any number of things. Beads, some diamond glades and some tiny seed beads, or those little bead things that don't even have holes in them that you get. I don't know what people use them for. Maybe for their when you set your stuff in molds. What is that called? People you do it on their nails too. Anyway, it's maybe that's what they're for, because I do think they use them in nail art. So I think I'm onto something, even if I can't remember what it's called. It's not epoxy, resin. Resin, that's the word I wanted. The resin. So those would be nice in a nice little puddle of diamond glaze, or even just a glue that dries clear, or even a colored glue. I mean, there really are so many options, and that's the thing that I try to remember to tell you, because that's part of what I want to do, is just encourage you to play with what you have. Not everything's going to turn out to be a masterpiece. In fact, most of them aren't. But what they will do while you're playing with them is they will give you ideas. What works, what doesn't, what did I like, what would I like to try again, what can I do differently next time. And if you're a creative person, and I'm assuming you are if you're watching this channel, or you'd like to be, those questions will probably come naturally to you the more time you spend working with this stuff. Okay, so put my cap back on there before I forget, and put this back in the case, or the little, I don't even know why I've kept these, but I did. And I will label that later. But for right now, I'm looking at this wondering, do any of these need a little bit more? Oh, you know what? The smaller ones, I'm going to get all this back out. And I'm just going to put some ink around the outside edges, because if I curl those up, you will see the back. So because I'm just using up scraps, I'm going to have a bunch of these flowers, and I've got some containers. I've got one glass jar. The lid isn't really airtight, so I can't use it for food storage, but it will work for something like this. I've also got some little plastic containers that we get from the grocery store that have little non-bread shapes in them that we use with like spinach artichoke dip and stuff. And those are really nice little containers. In fact, I've got one over there. If I finish off the ink that's on these bristles, I will grab it. It has chocolates in it, but shh, don't tell anyone. Okay, so I am done with that now. I'm going to put this back in here. Put the cap on. Okay, so this is the container that I have. These are the chocolates from Lent. They're already out of the orange, blood orange ones for this year. They only do them around the holidays. Fortunately, I have a few in my freezer, but they're nice and tall. They're a pretty durable plastic, and I think the flowers, when I get them in here, will look really nice. I'll be able to see through it, see what if I put them by color scheme or seasonal theme. Like Christmas flowers are a little different than every other flower. But we'll see. So these are just nice little containers. They do have lids. I just don't have that one right there. And they're stackable, so that will be nice. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to, you know what, I'm going to try and clean this brush out a little better. Add me some water here, just because I don't really want it to stain my next project. It didn't really have that much color in it. It looks like it does, but it's not really coming out, so. Oops. Okay. So to shape your petals, you have options. This is where these ball stylus tools come in handy. If you have a piece of foam, There are some foams made specifically to do this with. I don't have any of those, but what I do have is the craft foam, and it kind of works a little bit. It's a little denser than what these foams are, that the foams intended for this purpose are, but it will work. So let's hold on a minute while I grab one of those. Alright, so this is the craft foam I was talking about. So it's really thin, it's pretty dense. I like it for doing pop-up or shaker cards, which I don't do a lot of, because anytime you mail that stuff, it's already so expensive and the price just goes up. But if you're handing them out locally to people or hand delivering them, it's a great use of that stuff. So in this instance, I would really want a smaller stylus, and I didn't grab a smallest one as I would like. So this will work. But what you could do is you can work from the center out and put lines in there, which I might as well do since they're kind of showing up anyway. And that'll just help soften those fibers of that cardstock and kind of shape the flower. Can you kind of see there that it's getting a little bit of shape, kind of ruffling the edges a little bit? So that's one way you could do this. Again, I would have probably chosen a much smaller ball stylus, but this is what I have on my desk and I don't want to get up and go get something else. These ones are a little bit harder to handle because this handle is pretty thin. I think ideally what maybe I should do is get my polymer clay out and make handles for these, so there's a little bit more to hold on to there. But until that happens, I'm just going to tough it out and work my way through this. So this kind of just adds a bit of a more delicate texture to your flower petals. And you can see it did kind of shape them up a little bit. So they do look nice. So we'll go ahead and do these other, my goodness. Oh, I didn't finish that one. Oh. Now I've got to get my ink back out. I'll do that off screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat the same thing for all of these blue petals. I'll finish coloring that one since it got away from me. And then we'll put it together, and then we'll put some of these others together, and I'll show you different ways to use your ball stylus. Alright, we finished shaping all the flowers. I'm just going to set that aside. You can see it does kind of mar up your foam, so you won't want to use it for anything else, and I inked on there, but it does work. It's just a lot firmer than the flower shaping foam that's made for that. So here's where you're going to have a couple options. You can just layer these. So if you're going to mail this card or put it on a card, something you want to mail kind of flat, you're not going to want to build up a lot of depth, you know, or height, however you want to look at it. So you're not going to want to curve your petals or shape your petals too much. That one actually doesn't look too bad. It's kind of washed out in the camera. Let me lift it up a little bit. Anyway, it doesn't look too bad. I apparently got ink on me. So keep that in mind when you're making these. You might want to do different styles. For instance, if you curl these petals down like I did on this one, it gives the whole flower a little bit more height. You're probably not going to want to put that on a card that you're going to mail in an envelope. If you were going to mail it in a box or you were going to hand it to somebody, maybe you're making a shadow box, doing some quilling with some different styles of flowers like these, that would be okay, but it's going to get squished in an envelope, so just keep that in mind. So in this instance, I'm not going to curl my petals down like that. I'm going to kind of leave them flat, and I'm just going to start gluing things together. But the other thing you can do, aside from the way you shape your petals, depending on your cardstock, some are stiffer than others, you can also put little bits of foam tape underneath there to kind of separate them and give them, you know, a little bit of separation. So that's another option. So let me grab my glue here. this is still a little bit damp. Hopefully it will dry. So I'm just going to put some glue here in the center. That's more than I need, but I'll take one of my petals and I'm just kind of offsetting the layers to where it looks pretty good. I might need to pick that up a little. Oh yeah, I definitely need to pick that up. There we go. That looks pretty good. So this would be a good place if you wanted to pop these petals up a little bit more, to put a little bit of a thin piece of foam tape behind there if you like that look and it's going to work for your project. Because I'm just making these up because I want to do, you know, bust out all these scraps. I'm not going to do that because chances are I'll want to put it on a regular card and I'll need to be able to get it in a regular envelope. I'm just picking it up so I can kind of see, make sure I'm getting it centered. So I've removed all of the Amazon links from my description in the last two videos, but I think what I will do is I will just kind of start over as my videos progress with the products I'm using. Those links are affiliate links, so if you purchase after clicking on the link, I will get a small commission. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It's important to know that. And what I will do for this video is I will add this Barely Art glue. Now, they didn't used to mail it in the winter, but I believe I heard that they have reformulated the formula a little bit so that they can ship it in the winter now. If they still aren't shipping it, then I have heard really good things about Gina K's Connect Glue. I don't think I can link that through Amazon, but you can search Gina K and go to her website and find it. She did specifically say that they've reformulated theirs so they don't have that same problem with shipping it in colder temperatures. So anyway, I will add that link if anybody wants it. I will also, while I'm at it, try to find a link for the foam that people use when they're doing their flowers, if you're interested. And if you're not, that is perfectly fine, because I really do encourage you to use what you have. Prices are only getting crazier and crazier. I mean, I am terrified for our younger generations at this point, because I don't know how they're going to afford to live in this world that has been created for them. But anyway, I don't want to get on a political rant. So I like it. Like I said, it looks a little washed out, but it's better than this one where there is so much contrast between the colors that I've used. This is the same size and the same flower, but look how much bigger this one looks because I didn't curl these petals as much as I did on this one. Same flower, same size. It just is flatter, so it looks bigger. So now we got to find something for the center of this. So I did get a couple of things. Okay, so first of all, I've got all these little mini rhinestones and pearls and different things, which would look nice in there. But again, they're going to add some height to it. I did find some stuff at Hobby Lobby. My sister visited over the holidays and was going in to look for something. And even though I rarely go into a Hobby Lobby or any craft store anymore for that matter, I went with her and I did find a few things. So hold on a second. So a lot of the stuff that I picked up was actually for beaded pins, and I just thought these cardinals, which are silicone, were beautiful. Now, I'm not really a cardinal fan per se. I know they have special meaning during the holidays, or maybe it's any time of year, but I only really hear about them during the holidays. But I just thought those were so cute, so I did pick those up. Everything I got was at least 40% off or 50% off. These, again, for the beaded pins, they're just little, what do they call them? Well, they don't. But basically, I can hang a charm off of the edge of them if I want to. Some handmade with love stickers, because why not? And this is what I was looking for. These colored pearls, or I thought these would be nice on my Christmas tags next year, or these rhinestones here. So let me set some of this stuff off to the side. Oh, I've also got these gold ones. Now, I don't know, does gold work with the blue? Well, I don't know why it doesn't. But I thought these, they look like frosted glass. I doubt that they're glass. It's not heavy enough to be glass. But I like those too. You know what I also have somewhere? Hold on. Alright, digging through my stash, I found some more stuff. There's these little bitty, itty bitty white, I don't know, gemstones, what do they call them? Enamel stickers that would work in the flower. Those aren't bad. These are from Stampin' Up, and I like the 2 shades of blue down here, but maybe not with this. Maybe the darker one, but definitely not the other one. It looks a little more purple, and it's pinkish kind of coral at the top. Then I have these from Altenew, which, let's just lay that right here in the center. Wow, any of those would look nice. This second one down here is a little too similar in color, I think. Not enough contrast, but this one would work. This one would work even better, and the white would work, I think. So that's an option. Then also from Altenew, I have black and white. Can't go wrong with black and white. That would look good. I like it. Oh, that's some more of those from Stampin' Up. Here we have just clear ones. I don't think I want the clear. Here's just some little white pearls. The thing with these is they might be a little too small. I'm not sure. Those are from the Paper Studio. And then from Stampin' Up we have these, and they come in different sizes. So let's decide. I don't want to add any more height than I need to, so I'm going to take these off the list. I'm going to take, well, those aren't bad, but I like the other ones. Well, I don't know. I'll leave that in there. Let's see. These might actually be too big. I'm going to take one out. I've gotten better about leaving my stuff in the packaging so I know where it came from. And just kind of lay that. Oh, the small one looks kind of good in there. So that's an option. So I'll set this other package aside. These, they're white and kind of diamond cut. I'd have to use, I do think I'd have to use a couple of them. These ones down here are a little smaller, so I could put 3 in there, but I'm not sure I'd like the way that look. I'd really just like 1, so I'm going to set those off to the side. Again, these are clear, so they would show through, so I'm going to set those off to the side. I'm going to set this over here. The white one I like. I'm torn about the black. Got glue all over my fingers. I like it, but I don't know that everybody would, so I'm going to set that off to the side. These are nice, so I think, and they're low profile, which is what I really like about these ones from Altenew. You can see they're not going to add a lot of bulk to your card if you're adding these to a card. Now, I got these some time ago, these enamel dots. They were on sale when I bought them, which is why I got them. These gold ones, they're a little higher profile, so I'm going to skip those. And I like these. I think this is called an AB finish, where it looks kind of rainbow-like, although it's hard to see there. But I'm going to skip that. That was just something else I bought because I saw, I believe it was Natasha with Treasure Books, made some clear cards with acetate. I was thinking about making some tags like she did the cards. That's why I got these. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but there we go. So I think as much as I like this, well, it's a pretty low profile too, actually. So, do I want that, which seems to be the perfect size, or do I want this? I'm going to just set these aside as well. We've narrowed it down to these two. And here we go. I like that size. That's a good size, and I like the color. So I think we're going to go with one of those. Now let me find, I don't know where my pick tool is. I don't know where my good tweezers are. Got stuff all over my desk. So before I spill that water, let's just use this tool. And I want one of this size, if I can get it off of there. Oh, there we go. Just had to loosen it up a little bit. Okay, it's got some sticky on it. So I'm going to put this in the center. Oh, I probably should have gone with the darker one. Although that's kind of subtle. I do like the subtle. Okay, I'm just going to press it down. Made a decision. We're going to stick with it. So there you go. There's your completed flower. And I do think it's pretty. So I'm going to set that one off to the side. Just glue off my fingers. I'm going to put this stuff away, and we'll glue some of these other flowers together. Alright, I'm going to work on this pink one here because I do think it turned out pretty nicely. You can see I did use my Wink of Stella pen. No, I didn't. Or did I? I don't think I did. I believe I used this Spectrum Noir Sparkle glitter ink. But I don't know if they make this anymore because I've had this for over 5 years. But I do know there are other companies that do. And they make them in pen form now, which is a little bit more convenient. Now, the beauty of this is there's quite a bit in this. It doesn't give a weight, but it's a good sized little tub. It's or pot. Is that what they call them? Pots. It's over 1.5 inches round across. So I mean, I'll be able to use this for years to come. But the pens are definitely convenient. Okay, so we're going to start with this. Again, I used 2 different colors of ink. I don't remember exactly which ones. And I'm going to show you how to shape the petals. Now, actually, we're going to do this one different. The previous one I did, let me grab it here, was this one. And I used 2 of every petal layer, which is what I'm calling this. That's a layer of flower petals. I used 2 to make sure it covered the gaps between them. And it kind of almost ended up looking like a water lily, but I think it's actually a poinsettia. But that just goes to show you different colors and the way you shape the petals. It can kind of make it look like anything. And if it looks like something totally unseen before, who cares? If you think it's pretty, use it. So this is the one we're going to work on right now. Let me put this kind of right there so we can see it. So to do that one, I went between the petals like so. And at the bottom, I popped them up a little bit. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a curl. Kind of put some pressure here because you don't want to rip that petal off of there. Oh, that one got a little bit more than I wanted. Now you could also, having done that, you could still go through and put your veins in there if you wanted to. I'm not going to. We've already done that once. You've seen how to do that. And just for a close-up on that, you can see how that ruffled the edges a little bit. Kind of turn that around. So that's what that ball stylus did. It ruffled those edges a little bit, giving it a little bit of extra life. But those petals are shaped differently than these petals, so I'm not going to do that on this one. Sorry, preoccupied. I've got ink on or glue on my fingers. Okay, so again, we're just You don't have to put a lot of pressure. It's kind of like curling ribbon if you've ever done that, or paper. Which actually this is paper, it's cardstock, but it's paper. So then when you line those up and lay them together, you can see you get a little bit of height from it. See how it pops up when I let it go? This one only has 4 petal sizes, but I make 8 layers. So this next one, I'm going to actually curl up. Or I could even just leave it flat. How about we do that? We'll leave this one flat. And then we'll curl these 2 smaller ones up. So we want it to curl up, so we're going to curl it this way. So whichever direction you want it to curl, that's the side you'll put your curling tool on, or your ball stylus. So there's that. We'll do the other one of that size. Flip it over. And the smaller these layers get, the more I try to hold on to it a little bit higher up the petal, because again, I don't want to rip the petal off of there, because I'm using scraps and I cut all that color. I don't have any more, so I'd have to try and make it work with what I have here. And these you might want to curl up a little bit more. This is our last layer. We've got 2 of each, but you wouldn't have to put 2 of each on there if you didn't want to. We're going to curl this last one. You can see some of that glitter, I think, transferring over to my finger. Actually, you can't see it. I'm surprised, but I can see it in real life. And it's not really glitter. It's like a fine mica, I think. Okay. So there you go. So now what we want to do is we're going to glue all that together. So I start by flipping it over and working from the bottom up. So we're going to grab our glue again, and once we get it flowing, it's about time for me to buy a new one. Last time I bought this, I bought it with the Big Bear refill, and I think it's lasted me 2 years. So, and I do love this glue. Okay, I want to get that kind of centered. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I do like to be close, because if you're not, it can throw your other layers off. So these should be nice and dry, because I did these a couple days ago. And let's put this layer down. Quite. There we go. Oops. That's better. Keeps sliding on me. Plus my glue, because I'm putting so much, is kind of picking up some of the color. So I do need to be a little bit more careful. There we go. So I'll just do it like that. Hold that down so you can keep it from moving around there. And so this was the original color of this paper, but you can see with the ink it did darken it. So I basically just tried to use colors that were complementary to the original cardstock when I was adding my ink. And honestly, when I finished with this one, I didn't love it, because I thought the center was too dark, but once it dried, it came out really nice looking. It tended to even out a little bit more, and I've heard other people say that about other inks, Not necessarily the ones I used, because they are the Spectrum Noir from, that again I've had for over 5 years. But in the end I ended up liking it a lot better, so let's kind of take this and again, to me, I think this is a poinsettia pattern, but to me it almost looks like a water lily. Now I'm sure if I set it right next to a water lily I would be able to see the difference, but since I don't have it sitting right next to a water lily, I think it looks pretty good. Now, what do I want to put in the center? I do have some pink Nouveau drops, but I think they're too pale. I don't think they're dark enough for this, but not pale enough to look good either. Put my glue back in, or my pen back in there. Yeah, I'm not liking what I'm seeing on the shelf. So this, if we go back to this one, this might look good in there. If not, I know some of these others will. So this is probably, would we go with the medium size, or would we want, well, the small one does look pretty good. Oh, I think that's it. We're going to do that. Although gold would look nice too, but that does make it look more Christmassy, which means it would probably look better on red. Okay, back to the original plan here. We're going to pick one of these, and we're going to plop it right in the center. I'm going to have to pick it up and look at it, because it's definitely not centered. That's better. Oh, look at that. Okay, so again, it doesn't have, well, first of all, this one didn't have the back, the big, larger layer, because I didn't have enough paper in this color to cut out these bottom larger petal layers. So it is smaller, but the pink one's my favorite, not just because it's bigger, but because of the color combinations are so much nicer, and the way the inks blended together. And these were water reactive inks, so when I pulled my brush, which is, this was the brush I used, and then when it was wet I would kind of, you know, pull it to a finer point, and again it was easier on the bigger petals, and I would just pull it out, and that gives me the striations, which you can kind of see. Is that the right word? I'm not sure. We'll just say stripes. Very faint, subtle stripes. But look at that. I love these. These were from Hobby Lobby. Like I said, I don't usually sing their praises. I think they're way overpriced. Joann's was my favorite by far, but Joann's is gone. So look at that. I love that. Okay, let's pick another one. We've got purple. Oh, where did that come from? Oh, this must go over here. Okay. Stuff's getting rearranged. So this is, again, the same flower, but we're going to do the petals. Well, I don't think that's going to work for that one. So we're going to do another one of these. So I'm going to flip it over. They are a little curled already just from getting wet. And we're going to pull our foam back out here. And I'm going to curl this one down because it's already curling up. I'm going to curl it down a little bit. So you're going to grab your ball stylus, and again, the bigger your petals are, the bigger the tool you can use. I'm not going to quite go, well, I'm going to use, we'll see. I might just start with this one. So you're just going to do little circles, and I like to start toward the center and work my way out. If you don't have foam, you can do this in the palm of your hand. It's going to be difficult for me to do this and show you. There we go. I had to stand up. You can do it in the palm of your hand. Now, if you're putting enough pressure on there, your hand's going to get tired. But in this particular instance, it works a lot better than this foam does because the foam is so dense. So there you go. So when you lay it down, it's kind of like the way we did this when we worked from the back to get it to pop up like this. Now you could still do your smaller tool and make your, you know, lines like that. I'm not going to on this one. I want them all to be a little bit different so that we can kind of compare. So I think on this one, since I've got so many layers of this one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try to hold it so you can see what I'm doing. And again, you're just going to make little round circles. The smaller the tool, the more this might curl up, I think. Or maybe that's the other way around. But you do kind of want to use the appropriate size tool. Okay, and then you can kind of flatten it out a little bit. So for this one, I just kind of want this one more flat. I think I'll just kind of leave it the way it is. This one, I'm going to switch to a smaller. Which ones? Those look like they're about the same size, and they shouldn't be, but they do look it. Alright, so this time, because I want it to kind of curl up, actually I'm going to leave that one that kind of flat too. We'll curl these smaller ones, in which case I want this tool instead. And these we're going to curl, if I can get it in the center, just same way, but we want it this time because we want them to curl up. We're going to use our stylus here on the top part of the flower instead of the underside of the flower. And we'll put that one on, and then we'll grab this last one. And again, maybe I'll use the smaller tip on this one. See how it's curling up more? The smaller the tip, or the smaller the ball, the tighter you're gonna get your little curls on your flowers here. And then you can go down into the center and do that, and it kind of fills in. So I'm going to again flip it over, trying to keep all my stuff in order, and we'll come back and start gluing. I'm going to get rid of this now since I didn't even use it, and straighten this out, get my glue bag out. Is that the right? Yeah, it's the right side. So I have already cut a bunch of these different flowers out in different shapes. This was just the pile. These were all very similar that I was working with. But I've got a bunch more to do. Some of them, well actually I think most all of the rest of them are on colored cardstock. Some of them will be layered like this. Some of them you don't have to layer. You could still shape them if you wanted to. They're generally smaller, but you can do so many different things with the center of these. Now I'm using different rhinestone or acrylic embellishments, whatever you want to call them today, but there are so many different options. Like I said, you could make you a quilling coil. If you snipped all the edges like fringe, and then before you coiled it up, then you could fan that out. I've done that in some of my videos when I was working specifically on quilling. That would look really nice as well. If you have threads like embroidery floss, and you punched hole all the way through this, you could make some kind of little, I don't know exactly how to do it, but I can see it in my head, nice little flower centers with, you know, some embroidery floss as well. So there's, you guys have so many options. Or you could even just kind of fan the floss out like a circle and then put a rhinestone or something in the center. So I give you these ideas. I'm not necessarily going to do them all, but they're out there and you can certainly try them. And I would love it if you do try them, if you share on the Facebook page or even in the group. You have to join the group, but there's no cost to join. I set it up first, didn't really utilize it. Seemed like a lot of people had an aversion to joining the group, which I kind of get because I've been in some groups that were fairly toxic. Mine's fairly inactive, and except for me, I don't really see too many other people posting in it. But I would love to see what you guys make, whether it's cards that you make from the design files that I create in Design Space and share with you, or maybe you've got some quilling stuff you've worked on. I haven't dove back into the polymer clay yet, but I think I need to, because I definitely, now that I've realized what would make these more comfortable, that's going to be the easiest thing to do. So I might have to do that. Trying to get that centered. So that looks pretty good. The glue's still drying, and the light does wash it out. It's a little bit darker in person, a little bit brighter, but that's not bad. It just needs a center now. And since I have all of these out on my desk, I'm going to use some. Okay, so we've already used this one, so I'm not going to use those. I haven't used these gold ones yet, and I think one of these larger gold ones would look nice in there. So let me just do a quick peruse. Those are the same thing. It's white ones, pink, black. There's yellow. There's a coral color, not quite the right shade. Yeah, I'm going to use gold. And we're going to pick one of these larger ones, I do believe. And see if we can't get that down in the center. Roughly. Oh, that's not anywhere near the center. Oh, now it's not even on the flower. Okay, let's try this again. That looks pretty good. Alright, pinch. I should have added a little bit of glue to it, but I didn't. Okay. Still got some glue there that's drying, but you can see our flower. I could even add some smaller ones on there. What do you think? Should I kind of encircle that big one with some smaller ones? I think I should. So we shall. My pick tool is in the drawer over there somewhere, and I'm too lazy to get it. Otherwise, this could be a little bit easier. Okay. Ooh, I'm liking this. Oh, come back here. This is looking pretty good, in my opinion. You may have a different one, and you're certainly welcome to it. Last one. Okay, before I really press them down, I just want to make sure that they are kind of where I want them, and they look good. So I'm just going to pinch the front and the back to press that all together. And And then I can pull my petals up a little bit more. So in this case, if you were going to mail this and you wanted your petals, or even if you're not going to mail it, whatever you're doing with it, and over time you're worried that your petals might relax and fall back down, you could, this is where you could stick some dimensional stuff right back down. You'd want to get it in there as far as you can so you can't see it, but that would help them continue to have a little lift to them. Alright, let's zoom back out. That's a little far. There we go. So this was the other one that we made with that flower shape. And here's the other one. Let me see here. Let me move some stuff out of the way. Stuff really sticks to that silicone mat. Oh, I tried a new shampoo. Okay, this is totally off topic, but I'm trying to put this one little thing that got away from me over there. I can't even remember the name of it. If I think of it, I'll add it below. So my hair is really dry and brittle, and it kind of always has been a bit of a problem child. It doesn't like humidity at all. Never has. Let's see, this is the order we did these in. Gets really frizzy. It is naturally curly, but it's not really a pretty curl. It's kind of a kinky curl, and the longer it gets, the curls tend to just kind of straighten out. Anyway, so I tried this new shampoo, and it smells. It's not a bad smell, but it's strong, and obviously what I was using before was harsher on my hair. But this stuff, I'm not sure I'm going to get used to the smell of this. This is the second time I've used it, and I don't wash it every day because it is brittle. Part of that's my thyroid. Part of it's just the type of hair I have. Like I said, it doesn't smell bad, but it just, I'm very sensitive to smells, and I feel like it might be giving me a headache. But it definitely works differently with my hair. So my hair is really fine and frizzy and thin and brittle, and this stuff doesn't feel like the shampoo. First of all, it's really thin. It's almost like water when you put it in your hand. So and I got a little bit, like literally a 2-ounce tube. It looks like a hand lotion tube, but small travel tube for like $20. But I wanted to try it. My sister was trying something different. She said it works. She doesn't have curly hair, so her hair is a different texture type, but it's thin like water, so I'm not going to get a lot of washes out of this little bitty tube. And if I can't get past the smell, which for some reason today is really bothering me, I won't be able to buy it again. But it does feel like my hair's got a little bit more body to it than it normally does. Now, whether or not it's helping, like I said, I've only used it twice. I'll link it below if anybody's interested. We all have hair issues, or at least most of us do. I don't remember my curl type or my hair type. I think I'm a 2B, but I could even be a 3A. I'm not even sure. I only looked that up once. It was years ago, so I don't remember. But yeah, if it's humid out, my hair just curls right up, kind of like okay. The Vampire, is it not the Vampire Diaries? The one that had Lestat in it, and God, what was that little girl's name at the time? She's a grown woman now. I want to say Jennifer Aniston's first husband was in it before he took off with Angelina. Brad Pitt, I think, and maybe Tom Cruise, I'm not sure. But anyway, when she got turned into a vampire, her hair just curled right up. That's what humidity does to my hair. It doesn't look as nice as hers did, but yeah. Anyway, I digress. These videos are long enough. Y'all don't want to hear this. I'll try to put timestamps so you can fast forward through my hair care journey. I'm 60. I'll be 62 in January. I should have figured this stuff out a long time ago, right? Yeah. Maybe if I cared more. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. All right, so we're going to look at these three, and then we're going to call this a wrap. So this was the first one I did. I don't like the contrast between the little veins that I added versus the base color of the petals. I did ink them because this was their original color, but it's still too much contrast for me. I don't think it looks good. That's just me. This is the second one. We didn't curl these petals nearly as much, and we curled them differently. Instead of curling the whole petal in one direction, we used the ball stylus and worked from the center out of each petal numerous times on each petal to give it kind of a lacy texture around the edge. I don't know if you can see that, kind of like almost like a lettuce texture. I like that one a lot, even though I didn't get the gem centered. This one, again, these are all the same flower shape and the same number of petal layers. Curled this one with the ball stylus, but instead of going out and making like veins in it to let us edge the petals, we just went around in circles. And so it gave it a little bit of curl and a little bit of lift. And you can do that even more than I did, different size ball styluses to get more curl in there if you want. But this is what we ended up with. And this and the blue one are my favorite. So even though they're all the same exact size, same number of layers and everything, you can see how different they look. This one's almost looks as big as this one. This one looks a lot smaller, but they're all the same. This one and this one, I'm going to slide these up just a little. A lot more curl in this, and it's missing the bottom two layers. But still a lot more curl and, you know, going down and coming up than I did on this one. I like this one better because it blended better. This one I wasn't happy with. Again, too much contrast in the, that was the original color. That is a light lavender or lilac. But I inked them and then I added the blue glitter ink from Spectrum Noir, and you can see how much darker that came out. So play with it, guys. Play with what you have. You can, you know, use your Nuvo drops or even glitter glue. Your glue will set up if you buy some of the glitter glue. Walmart has it. I haven't tried it, but I don't know why it wouldn't work. Get those gems out that you've been saving and use those up. I think that one's pretty. I love that one. I love this one too. I just wish I'd gotten the gem centered. And this one, I really love that smoky looking glass there, etched glass, whatever you want to call it. Look, that is stunning. So I'm going to continue making these, and I made some for Christmas. These were different dies, and these were poinsettias. I may have shown these in a video. I honestly don't remember. Same thing. So this is a die cut that makes the center of the flower. You don't have to just use that with this die set. You can use it on any of these as long as it's size appropriate, which again, if you're using it with the Cricut, you can resize it all you want. Now this might be a little sketchy cutting with the Cricut because there's some pretty tiny little holes in there, but you don't have to make the holes. You could just cut the outer shape, which is just a bunch of circles all stuck together randomly, and not cut those holes out, and then just use a pen or glitter dots or Nuvo drops or whatever on there. Or your maybe you use some ink on that so it's got some variation in the color, and then put your diamond glaze on it. So many options. On this I used gold ink and then to ink the edges, and then I used some splatter techniques to add the dots to it. So I'll be putting these in one of my containers as well. I still had quite a few of those left over. But yeah, play with your stuff. Use your scraps. I'm going to dig out more. I'm going to make more. I do have two more here we could put together, but I don't really know that there's much point in it today because they're the same as this one without these bottom two layers. I wouldn't use the technique where I go from the center out with the small ball stylus just because of the shape of those petals. It doesn't mean you can't. I just don't think I would. Maybe one down the middle. Or I did actually mean to show you this, and I don't know where my I don't know where my tweezers are. I have another pair here. I just don't like these. Oops. There we go. The other thing you can do, I don't know which one to grab here. I'll grab one of the big ones off of one of these ones we haven't colored yet. You can take tweezers. These don't stay together. I hate this pair, and then give them a little twist. Okay, so I'm going to do it. You twist it up, and it just kind of puts a little crease in your flower petal. Does that show up? There you go. So you could do that a couple of times if you wanted to. Twist them different directions. And that kind of gives you, well, it's hard to see because it's white, but again, better tweezers would have helped that process. But that's another way you can shape those flower petals. I have some of the self-closing, or what do you call them, so you don't have to squeeze them to hold your stuff, but I don't know where they're at. So those definitely would work better. And then you can shape your flower petals that way. Yeah, you really can't see this very well, but there you go. So anyway, guys, I think I've rambled on long enough on here, so I'm going to let you go. I will continue making these because I have a lot more to put together. I tend to sit in front of the TV and die cut them at night while we're watching television, but my shoulder only lets me do so many before I have to give it a rest. And I'm going to try and start saving up to get one of the Anna Griffin Empress machines, because it's I don't have to crank it. So we'll see. That may take me a while, but that's my goal here with that. Anyway, let me know what you think. And if you guys try this out, post your pictures. I would love to see what you're working on. I would love to help you if you have questions or a feedback, or if you've got something that you can share with me that will, take my game to the next level. I'm happy to hear that too. I'm not an expert at anything. I just love doing this stuff, and I love sharing it with everyone. And I do it for free because it just brings me joy. I think, there's a lot of people out there who make a living sharing their stuff, and I'm not knocking them. They got their game on. They know what they're doing. More power to them. I just would rather just share it so that everybody has the same knowledge and can, we can take these techniques to the next level, because that's what it takes, is somebody, building on somebody else's technique. So with that, I'm going to stop because I feel like I'm preaching and I don't want to preach. So guys, until next time, this is Georgiana signing off, but I hope you have a happy, crafty new year, and may this be a better year for all of us, which it's already, well, here we go with the political stuff again. In case you weren't aware, it's already not getting off to a good start, but I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I just keep praying. So until next time, guys, I hope you have a happy, crafty day.